June 14th, 1974. Elvis Presley was backstage at the Mid-South Coliseum in Memphis when security brought in someone they thought was Elvis trying to sneak into his own dressing room. What happened when Elvis came face to face with his own reflection became one of the most surreal and touching moments of his entire career. The Mid-South Coliseum was packed that night. Elvis was in the middle of a tour, and Memphis was always special because it was home. The energy in the building was electric, with fans who had known him since he was just a kid from Tupelo making noise in the streets. Elvis had finished his sound check and was in his dressing room, going over the set list with his band, when there was a commotion outside in the hallway. Raised voices, someone protesting, the sound of a scuffle. The dressing room door burst open, and two security guards came in, forcibly escorting a man between them. The man in the jumpsuit was wearing an elaborate white jumpsuit with rhinestones and an eagle design. His hair was jet black, styled in the exact pompadour that Elvis wore. He had sideburns, sunglasses, and even moved with a hip-swaying swagger. For a split second, Elvis thought he was looking in a mirror. Hold on, one of the security guards was saying. "We caught this guy trying to get into your dressing room, Mr. Presley. Says he's supposed to be here, probably trying to steal something or meet you by pretending to be you." The man in the jumpsuit was protesting. "I wasn't trying to sneak in. I was just looking for the bathroom. I got turned around backstage." Elvis stood up slowly, staring at this man who looked so much like him it was unsettling. The resemblance was striking. The jumpsuit was a near-perfect replica of one Elvis had worn just a few months earlier. The hair, the sunglasses, the whole presentation was so close that Elvis understood immediately how the confusion had happened. "Wait," Elvis said to the security guards. "Let him go." The guards released the man, but stayed close, clearly suspicious. Elvis walked closer, studying the man's face. The features were similar, the styling was identical, but up close you could see the differences. This man was slightly shorter, his face a bit rounder, his eyes a different shade. "Who are you?" Elvis asked, but his tone wasn't angry, it was curious, almost amused. The man pulled off his sunglasses, revealing nervous eyes. "My name's Bobby, sir, Bobby Anderson. I'm an Elvis impersonator. I perform at local bars and clubs around Memphis and Tennessee. I bought a ticket to your show tonight because I wanted to see the real thing, learn from the master. I wasn't trying to cause any trouble, I swear." Elvis tilted his head, still staring. "You do this for a living? The impersonation?" Bobby nodded. "Yes, sir. I try. It's not much, but it pays the bills. Mostly small venues, sometimes birthday parties or corporate events." "And you're here at my show wearing that?" Elvis gestured at the jumpsuit. Bobby looked down at his outfit and his face flushed with embarrassment. I guess I should have changed first. I had a gig earlier today at a lunch event and I came straight here. I didn't think about how it might look." Elvis started laughing, not a mean laugh, but genuine amusement. He walked around Bobby in a circle, examining the jumpsuit from every angle. "Where did you get this?" "I made it myself," Bobby said. "Well, my wife helped. She sews. We spent months getting it right. The rhinestones, the eagle pattern, everything." Elvis reached out and touched the fabric. It was good work, not professional grade, but clearly made with care and attention to detail. "This is impressive," Elvis said. "Really impressive." Bobby seemed to relax slightly. "Thank you, Mr. Presley. That means a lot coming from you." Elvis looked at Bobby's face again, then at his own reflection in the dressing room mirror. "Tell me something, Bobby. Do people actually think you're me?" Bobby laughed nervously. "In the dark, from a distance, yeah, sometimes. The jumpsuit helps sell it, but the moment I open my mouth, the illusion breaks. I can look like you, but I can't sound like you. My voice is all wrong." "Let me hear it," Elvis said. "Sing something." Bobby looked mortified. "Right now? Here?" Elvis crossed his arms, grinning. "Yeah, right now. I want to hear what I supposedly sound like." Bobby cleared his throat nervously. The security guards were still watching, clearly confused about what was happening. Bobby's hands were shaking slightly as he started to sing the opening lines of "Can't Help Falling in Love." His voice was nothing like Elvis's. It was higher, thinner, without the richness and power of Elvis's famous vocals. But there was something endearing about the attempt. Bobby was trying so hard, putting everything he had into it, even though he clearly knew he didn't sound like Elvis at all. When Bobby finished, there was an awkward silence. "I know," Bobby said quietly. "I know I don't sound anything like you. But people come to see the jumpsuit and the hair and the moves. They want the show, the spectacle. The singing is just part of it." Elvis was quiet for a moment, looking at this man who made his living pretending to be him. Then he did something that surprised everyone in the room, including himself. He reached into his pocket and pulled out his wallet. From it, he extracted a business card and wrote something on the back. He handed it to Bobby. "What's this?" Bobby asked, looking at the card. "That's my private number," Elvis said. "I want you to call it tomorrow morning, around 10 o'clock. Bobby stared at the card like it might disappear if he blinked. "Why?" "Because I want you to come to Graceland," Elvis said simply. "I want to talk to you more. I want to hear your story." Bobby's mouth fell open. You're inviting me to Graceland? Is there an echo in here?" Elvis smiled. "Yes, I'm inviting you to Graceland. Call that number tomorrow and someone will give you directions and make arrangements. Can you do that?" Bobby nodded, still looking stunned. "Yes, sir. Absolutely. I'll call. Thank you so much." Elvis turned to the security guards. "Let him go. He's a paying customer. Let him enjoy the show." After Bobby left, escorted to his seat by the still confused security guards, one of Elvis's band members spoke up. "Boss, what was that about?" Elvis shrugged. "He looks like me, acts like me, makes his living being me. I'm curious. I want to know what that's like." The next morning at 10:05, Elvis's private line rang. It was Bobby, calling from a payphone, his voice shaking with nervousness. "Mr. Presley, this is Bobby Anderson. You told me to call this morning." Elvis had almost forgotten about the invitation in the whirlwind of the previous night's performance and the late-night celebrations afterward. But hearing Bobby's voice, it all came back. "Bobby, yeah, good. You still want to come by Graceland?" "Are you serious?" Bobby asked. "This isn't a joke?" "Dead serious," Elvis said. "Come by this afternoon, say around 2 p.m. The guards at the gate will be expecting you." When Bobby Anderson pulled up to the gates of Graceland in his beat-up 1968 Ford that afternoon, he was shaking so badly he could barely hold the steering wheel. He'd brought his wife, Mary, who was equally nervous and excited. The gates opened and they drove up the long driveway past the perfectly manicured lawns toward the mansion that looked like something from a dream. Elvis was waiting on the front steps, wearing casual clothes, a far cry from the elaborate stage costumes. He waved as Bobby and Mary got out of the car. "Welcome to Graceland," Elvis said warmly. "You must be Mary." Mary nodded, speechless. "Come on in," Elvis said. "I want to show you around." For the next hour, Elvis gave Bobby and Mary a personal tour of Graceland. He showed them the living room where he relaxed, the music room where he sometimes played piano late at night, even his bedroom, which very few people ever saw. Bobby couldn't stop staring at everything, taking mental photographs of every detail. Mary kept squeezing his hand as if to confirm this was really happening. After the tour, Elvis led them to his wardrobe room. This was a large space filled with dozens of jumpsuits, stage outfits, capes, and accessories. Each piece was a work of art, designed by some of the best costume makers in the entertainment industry. "Bobby," Elvis said, gesturing around the room, "you said you made your jumpsuit yourself." "My wife made it," Bobby corrected. "I just helped with the design." Elvis turned to Mary. "You did that work? The rhinestones, the stitching, all of it?" Mary nodded. "It took me 4 months. Every night after work, I'd sew a little more." "That's impressive," Elvis said genuinely. "Really impressive." He walked over to one of the racks and pulled out a white jumpsuit with an intricate peacock design. "This is one of mine. Had it made last year. Wore it maybe 3 times. He held it up, examining it, then turned to Bobby. "What do you think?" "It's beautiful," Bobby said quietly. "It's yours," Elvis said, holding it out to him. Bobby's eyes went wide. "What?" "I want you to have it," Elvis said. "A real Elvis jumpsuit for a real Elvis impersonator." Bobby's hands were shaking as he reached out to take the jumpsuit. He couldn't speak. He just stood there, holding this piece of performance history, tears starting to form in his eyes. Mary was crying openly now. "Mr. Presley, we can't accept this. It's too much." "Sure you can," Elvis said gently. "Look, Bobby told me last night that he does this to pay the bills, that he's got a family to support. Well, if you're going to impersonate me, you should have the real thing. It'll make your shows better. You'll book better gigs. It's practical." But there was more to it than that, and everyone in the room knew it. This wasn't just about practicality. This was about recognition, about Elvis seeing someone who was struggling, who was working hard at something difficult, and wanting to help in the way he knew how. Before they left, Elvis had one more surprise. He called down one of his staff photographers. "Let's get a picture," Elvis said. "Bobby, put on the jumpsuit." Bobby changed into the Elvis original, and it fit him almost perfectly. When he came back out, wearing the real thing instead of the homemade version, the transformation was remarkable. He looked even more like Elvis than before. Elvis stood next to him, and the two of them posed together. The photographer snapped several shots. Elvis and his doppelganger, both wearing identical outfits, both styled the same way. One of Elvis's staff members walked past and did a double take. He stopped, stared, looked back and forth between Elvis and Bobby with genuine confusion on his face. Which one of you is the real Elvis?" Everyone in the room burst out laughing, Bobby included. "That's the best compliment you could give him," Elvis said, gesturing to Bobby. "See, you're officially good enough to fool my own people." Before Bobby and Mary left, Elvis pulled Bobby aside for a private moment. "Can I ask you something?" Elvis said quietly. "What's it like? Being me, I mean. Playing me every night." Bobby thought about it. "Honestly, it's an honor, but it's also hard. People expect perfection because you set the bar so high. Every move, every note, every gesture. They're comparing me to the real thing, and I always fall short." Elvis nodded slowly. "You know what's funny? I feel the same way sometimes. Like I'm impersonating some version of myself that people expect. The jumpsuit, the moves, all of it. Sometimes I wonder if the real me got lost somewhere along the way." Bobby didn't know what to say to that. For a moment, the king of rock and roll looked vulnerable, almost sad. Then Elvis shook it off, smiling again. "But that's my problem, not yours. You keep doing what you're doing, Bobby. Keep making people happy. That's what it's all about." As Bobby and Mary drove away from Graceland that evening, the jumpsuit carefully folded in the back seat, Mary turned to her husband. "Did that really just happen?" Bobby shook his head in wonder. "I have no idea, but I've got the jumpsuit and the pictures to prove it." The jumpsuit changed Bobby's career. With a genuine Elvis original, he was able to book better venues, charge higher fees, and start actually making a decent living from his performances. But more than that, the story of how he got it became part of his act. He'd tell audiences about the night he was mistaken for Elvis at Elvis's own concert, about being invited to Graceland, about Elvis's kindness. The photograph of Elvis and Bobby together, both in matching jumpsuits, became one of Bobby's most treasured possessions. He had it framed and hung it in his home. And sometimes, when gigs were slow and money was tight, he'd look at that picture and remember that the king himself had taken the time to help a struggling impersonator. Elvis never saw Bobby perform after that day. Their paths didn't cross again. Bobby tried calling the private number once or twice in the following months just to say thank you again, but Elvis was always on tour or unavailable. Eventually, Bobby stopped calling, understanding that their moment together was complete, a perfect memory that didn't need to be extended. When Elvis died in 1977, Bobby performed a tribute show at a local Memphis venue. He wore the jumpsuit Elvis had given him and told the story of their meeting to a packed house. There wasn't a dry eye in the room. People came up to me after that show, Bobby would later recall, and they said they felt like they'd been connected to Elvis through me, like somehow by him being kind to me, he'd been kind to all of them. That's when I understood what he really gave me that day. It wasn't just a jumpsuit. It was proof that he saw regular people, that he cared about people who were struggling, that fame hadn't forgot where he came from. The story of Elvis and Bobby Anderson, the impersonator who looked like the king but couldn't sound like him, is one of those small moments that reveals something profound about character. Elvis didn't have to invite Bobby to Graceland. He didn't have to give him a genuine jumpsuit worth thousands of dollars. He didn't have to take the time to make a struggling performer feel seen and valued. But he did, because underneath all the fame and the jumpsuits and the performance, Elvis understood what it meant to work hard for something, to struggle, to try to support your family doing what you loved. He saw himself in Bobby, or maybe he saw who he might have been if things had gone differently. And for one afternoon at Graceland, the king and his doppelganger stood side by side, so similar in appearance that Elvis's own staff couldn't tell them apart, but connected by something deeper than looks. Connected by the understanding that we're all just trying our best, all putting on our jumpsuits and stepping into the spotlight, hoping we can make someone happy, hoping we can pay our bills, hoping we can be worthy of the roles we've been given. Bobby Anderson continued performing as an Elvis impersonator until he retired in the late 1990s. He kept the jumpsuit Elvis gave him in pristine condition, only wearing it for special occasions. When asked why he didn't wear it more often, he'd say, "That jumpsuit isn't just a costume, it's a reminder of the day the king treated me like I mattered. Some things are too precious to wear out." The photograph of Elvis and Bobby together, two versions of the same icon standing side by side, remains in Bobby's family. His grandchildren sometimes look at it and ask which one is which. Bobby always smiles and says, "The one on the left is the legend. The one on the right is just a guy who got lucky enough to meet his hero and discovered that his hero was even better than he'd imagined." If this story of kindness, recognition, and the humanity behind the legend moved you, make sure to subscribe and hit that thumbs up button. Share this video with someone who needs to hear about the power of seeing and valuing people who work hard at their craft. Have you ever met someone you admired? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to ring that notification bell for more untold stories about the moments that reveal true character.